Board meeting, please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask you to remain standing for a moment of silence for a former town police chief that passed away, George Lochner. Thank you. Roll call.
John Basley, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Joe Conti, Third Ward.
Stefan Krakauer, Fifth Ward.
Ann Shershen, Sixth Ward.
Todd Tancredi, Supervisor.
Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
All right, we have a couple public hearings on the agenda tonight, so by law we have to do those first. So I'm going to make a motion to open public hearing number 1, amendment to our local vehicle and traffic law, no parking on Boardman Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here to speak to this public hearing? Doreen?
Yes, at the first meeting this was brought up, we heard that it was a problem. And then at the second meeting, we heard that parking was not a problem, but it was trying to prevent any problem. And unfortunately, what happens is with these projects, they come before the planning board, they come before the town board. Again, it's never a problem. Lords said that they had traffic studies done. They were going to have sufficient parking. It said the studies were not theoretical studies, that they did counts. They said they had a overcapacity for parking. So again, the real problem here is when these projects come before, like I said, whether it's the town board for rezoning or planning board, they tell you one story, and then you end up with the situation being completely different. And we did hear Sergeant Jica say that Boardman Road is a heavily traveled road, and the Wegmans assisted living on the corner of Spackenkill and Boardman is not even in place yet. So I think we need to be doing, instead of changing the laws, I think we need to be doing a better job when it comes to having these projects under the scrutiny of the planning department and for zoning for the town board, because, again, every time you have a traffic consultant, there's never going to be a traffic issue. So it's just, their studies just don't appear to be reliable. And we end up changing laws like in this case or having other issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I make a motion to close public hearing number 1.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Jay?
Be it enacted, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie, pursuant to a public hearing held on the 20th day of August, 2014, 7 p.m., Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, does hereby amend Town Code, Chapter 195, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, specifically 195-48, Schedule 13, parking prohibited at all times as follows. Add 195-48, Schedule 13, parking prohibited at all times, Boardman Road, the east and the west side, locations from the intersection with Zach's Way, the town city line, south approximately 3,168 feet, to Old Boardman Road, the north-south side from the intersection of Zach's Way, east 200 feet to the intersection with Coachlight Drive, and be it further enacted, the legal notice of public hearing was posted on August 7, 2014, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on August 9, 2014. And be it further enacted, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does determine that this action is a Type 2 action requiring no environmental review. Be it further enacted that said local law shall become effective immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. Is this on just one side of the road or both?
It's on both sides.
On both sides?
Yeah.
And we haven't had any actual complaints, right? I mean, we're putting no parking up on the road when there hasn't actually been a problem?
I haven't had a complaint. I don't know if Councilwoman Shershen has.
No actual complaints, but I spoke to the one resident who is actually impacted. She's the first house on Old Boardman Road. And she said at graduation last year that both sides of the road were parked up and there were people walking down the middle of the road. And that she was unable to turn onto Boardman and had to exit her house going the other direction.
I mean, I don't.
And that's the concern that Sergeant Jinka's bringing up. It's not just the stadium, that it's the normal operation of the school. He's concerned about people parking alongside the road. There are blind curves, there are S curves, it's difficult to see. And with inexperienced drivers and people just using the road, he's concerned about vehicles being hit, people being hit.
So is this the whole stretch of Boardman Road?
No.
Where does it start and where does it end?
It ends at the town city line, which is just past where Lord's is, and then it stops just at where the library starts.
So it's the entire town section?
No, it's not the entire town section because it stops where the new library is on Boardman.
I mean, I don't think it makes sense to put no parking up when nobody's actually complained about a problem. And I'm all for being proactive, but I still don't see where there's really an issue if there's overflow parking where people are parking on the same side of the street as the school. And we had a concern raised about a traffic light at the other end of the road, and it was the opinion of most people that were looking at it that, geez, that's not really a problem. But now we're going to put no parking all over that road because it's a heavily traveled road. It doesn't make sense. I'm not big on trying to make laws to prevent people from doing something that they haven't even been doing. To me, if it became an issue and we had complaints and we had a problem and it was a dangerous situation, we look at it. But if it's not an issue, to just go out and start looking for places to put up signs that say you can't park there, you can't do that, you can't do this, to me doesn't. Really.
I think the time to raise that was the last week when Sergeant Giga was here. I mean, I thought he made a convincing argument as to why it's needed.
I was at a few last week.
Oh, okay, sorry. He was here last week.
But he had other points about it too, and
He
can you recall
He
that?
made a fairly convincing argument, and I agreed with you before I heard him speak. He came up, he talked about the concern about overflow on big events, the fact that
But it
it's a
ha-
curvy
But I don't think
area.
I don't
He
think
made a convincing argument, I thought.
Road isn't wide enough. We're
I thought he-
required to have,
A convincing argument, but
But the shoulder there's plenty of room on the shoulder to park.
not,
not a whole lot.
Not really.
not
Some of
really.
it there is.
They don't,
But I mean,
what's happening is they're not taking the car off the road, off the paved portion, and parking on the grass. They're parking on the paved portion of the highway.
But we
So
ha-
now we've got parked vehicles taking up lane space from traveling vehicles. Now you add the pedestrians.
That's what he was really
But
concerned.
that's what he
we
was
have
saying
a
that-
situation that hasn't happened. It hasn't become a problem.
No, but it has happened, Stefan, a few times during a couple of the games, because I brought up parking at the credit union, because I agree, I was one against jumping the gun. I'd rather see a temporary sign. And the sergeant said there are issues, there are times that we've had them. There was a couple overflow games, whether it was a resident or he had gotten complaints, he had been out a few times. And he had a very convincing
But what-
argument, because I was not a fan.
me.
Wouldn't it make more sense to just put temporary no parking signs for the specific events and put no parking? I mean, it just seems like you've got to have something better to do with his time than go find roads to put no parking signs on where there hasn't been any complaints.
Well, I find Sergeant Jinka to be very prudent, and every time I've approached him about a no parking sign, he's told me no. So this is the first time he's ever with this, and trust me, there's, in Arlington
Happy-
Business District, they all want no parking everywhere.
Yeah, and I'm gonna agree with that too. Sergeant Giga felt like by doing this, we're preparing ourselves for not to have an incident there. And
Right,
I believe he's a
but-
professional, and I
To me,
think,
it doesn't make a lot of sense.
I agreed with you
To
until.
pass a law for something where we haven't had an issue.
Yeah.
And, if it's because of the Lord's football games, there's only a few of those home games where I think there'd be any impact. And if it's the graduation, that's once a year. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense. We're restricting from people from doing something that they weren't doing. It just seems like a waste.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Anybody else? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1. I make a motion to open public hearing number 2, zoning map amendment, Springside Neighborhood Development.
second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here to speak to this public hearing? Felicia, I see your hand raised.
Might as well get it out of the way so I can.
Sure.
Felicia Salvatore, 48 Van Wagner Road. Just hearing you guys talk about this particular issue, I mean, if you want to see a narrow road come on my street, it's really narrow and there's really S-curves. And I always say the same thing. The issue that I have with the development is just the traffic. And it's not something that's new since this development. I mean, my kids were 5, 6, and 7 when I took a picture of them by that sign. So even if you put up these no parking signs, very well, many people won't listen to it because they don't listen to the signs on my street, you know, the do not enter and the do not turn right. So it's an interesting topic. To do it before it's a problem, but I've had a problem for over 20 years and it's still not really solved.
Do you think?
I do know they're going to plan on getting together maybe to see about dead ending it.
Right.
Is that the answer? I really don't know. It'll be interesting to see what everybody has to say,
Is it-
because I think
Is
about
there
it, I
no, is
don't
it
know.
no parking there already?
No. The issue is that people use that little section of road as a cut-through, and they come down from, say, Marple or Pleasant Valley, and they head up past where Tom Bauer lives. They fly up the hill, they come down, they make a right. They bring their kids to Holy Trinity, whatever. It's just a cut-through to get to the arterial. And then you have a bunch of people that come in the wrong way for whatever reason. And I'm not saying it's not some of the people on the street as well that do it. It's just, I live right on the curve where you can't see. And it's, it's just, I sit on my porch and watch people almost get killed on a daily basis.
Do you think with the realigned road, it's helped or no?
I would say.
Because that was done temporarily, so it can be taken out if it
The
wasn't.
realigned road doesn't really affect my traffic that much, to be honest, because you'll still have those same few people that come in the wrong way. It's all the people that are cutting through to take that right that are, and it's not really the fault too much of my neighbors, but if you drive on that street, you'll see as far as some people only have room for one car. A gentleman who lives right on the curve. His driveway is big enough for one car. He has like 2 grown children and a girlfriend. So now you're talking he has 4 cars. So he parks them right on the road. So when someone's coming around the curve, they can only go here. And then when someone's coming in the wrong way, it's either hit a car or hit the person. It's just dangerous, and I don't know what.
So do you think dead ending that would?
I think it
be a
would help, but
benefit?
I don't know how that would even be, because if I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is. I think it would be good, but I don't, and I'm just envisioning the businesses opening, the apartments, and I'll be honest, I think it's people in apartments, not to say anything. We have a little bit of section of apartments on that street, but they don't pay tax. I mean, I pay almost $9,000 where I live. They don't pay taxes. They just come and go. People come and go in apartments. They want to get to Stop and Shop quick. It's much easier to just go this way or that way. And actually, I was talking to some neighbors that live up on sites, and she was just like, when I talked to her about, what's going on, because she lives further up than most of the people that are here tonight. She lives up a little further. And she just said, I don't know what to do with the town. She's still up in arms with Maple Knolls. I guess when they put that in, there's a little section of property that's between her house, and I can't think of the other name, like 2 up from the little property that they're going to do. And I guess there's a ton of people that walk through her yard to get where, I guess, who knows where she's had a real issue with that and with drainage.
Has Sergeant Chica looked at it?
I don't know.
I told her to call the police. I mean, there's a lot, it's another whole
I
nother
mean, Maple
story.
Knoll's probably been there 15
Yeah, but she said
years
with
at this-
drainage,
20
and
years
she said,
maybe.
so she didn't even
You
want
could
to
probably
hear,
put some no parking.
she didn't want to
shut it
hear
down.
anything about,
Yeah,
anything more going on there, so.
okay.
But my main thing is, again, just basically the traffic, and I really don't want to see anybody, especially one of my children. I mean, truthfully, if it was up to me, I'd say, open that to both ways, because you know what, where I live, my kids could go left, and I could come in the wrong way and
Your
go
road
right,
op-
and I would never have to deal with
You
the
mean
curves.
your road?
It's a kind of awkward.
It's very
layout.
awkward.
it's
Very.
Yeah, it's strange.
It's really awkward, and I don't,
So open your road to,
both ways, if it was up to
Direct-
me,
yeah.
because I would
Ah,
just go
all
this
right.
way, but it's not me, it's everybody else
well,
that'll be
I
unsafe.
think if that's a suggestion,
No,
we
that's
wanna
really not
hear it.
that's not a suggestion.
Oh, I thought it was.
No, that would be my way of,
Okay.
saving the lives of my family, but that's not really what I'm about. It's everybody else on that curve that are in danger.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Felicia. Anyone else?
Sorry.
Sorry.
I also just wanted to say that Tinkelmans
Try
did.
to adhere to a 3-minute rule, just.
Oh. sorry.
Right, Doreen?
They did have a meeting with some of the neighbors, which I thought was really nice, and I just wanted to say that was very nice.
Okay.
And they did post a sign, which I thought was very nice. And I just also wanted to bring up that, now I forgot what I was going to say when you told me that darn
Sorry.
3-minute rule. Oh, and I do understand that there's some kind of a meeting coming up in September, maybe to discuss the issues of the traffic.
I think there's
Not a
personnel
public
from
meeting,
town
but
staff is
yeah.
trying to get together to.
So I'd be interested in-
evaluate what was done and see if they thought it worked, didn't work, or what have you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name is Dave Ferris. I live on 8 Sites Terrace. I know it rhymes. This is for the Springside Neighborhood Development. Is this part of the Arlington Town Center?
This public hearing is to take the piece that's right on the corner, I think there's a 2 or 3 family
Yeah, I've
house
lived there
there,
50 years, I
and to
know.
add it to this development, this project.
So
And then-
this is going to be part of the Arlington
Yes,
Town Center?
yes, it will.
Okay, and another question. Over 30 years, we tried to get lines put on the road up there. Suddenly, the day before this meeting, we've got lines on the road. Kind of funny, isn't it?
I don't know, I just got lines put on my road, and I've been hearing nothing but black about it, so.
All right,
I guess it depends
and
on
I
your
have another
perspective.
question
lines on
for
my
you.
road.
I do too.
All right, believe me.
We got crosswalks.
If it's supposed to be part of the Arlington Town Center,
Yes,
shouldn't it say something on here?
say something on where.
Is Springside Neighborhood Development different from the Arlington Town Center?
Yes, the Arlington Town Center is a town center that's within our town zoning, that is, where Vassar College is, the Juliet, Zimmer Brothers, and now this property is gonna be part of that zoning
The
district.
only, yeah, it's a zoning district like Business Highway or Office Research. so-
This Springside Neighborhood Development is what the developer is calling his project.
Okay.
That's the name of it.
Now, Tinkleman, I guess that's his
Yes,
name,
yes.
all right? This is what the Arlington Town Center is going to be, okay?
Yeah,
Can anybody show us exactly where it is?
sure. If you want to come in tomorrow, or you just give me a call, we can get you a map of I don't remember the borders off the top of my head. I think it's Hooker Avenue up to Vassar through Main Street to the arterial, and that would include this property, and roughly from Uno's to South Grand Avenue. That would be
Okay.
the Arlington Town Center.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is
Hi.
Ryan Dowdy, 20 Sites Terrace. I grew up there my whole life, and I don't disagree with this project. I'm concerned about the traffic. I'm there all the time, and people fly up our street. And I'm actually speaking for my neighborhood because I know everyone in my neighborhood, and everyone's very concerned about traffic issues.
Upsites Terrace.
Upside Terrace. And ever since Van Wagner has become a dead end, our traffic has increased. So for the last 10 or more years, the traffic has been substantial on our street. And it's not only the traffic, it's the speeding. And it's really a main concern. And I would like to see a study done just to see how many people are driving up and down our street and how fast they're going.
Well, maybe we have a traffic trailer.
I can get a hold of Sergeant Jika, and he can work with
When
these-
they did mine to make those signs originally, there was 1,500 cars a day on my street.
Wow.
Mr. Dowdy, we can to get back to what you were talking about, we can get a speed, a device that measures the speed and how many cars travel on that.
Yeah.
So I'd be happy to work with the town police to have that happen for you. And also,
Okay,
you said
great.
if you notice, since you're there so much, if you notice a certain time where you see excessive speeders, if you let the police department know and just sort of give them the idea what time, they can also benefit by
Okay.
helping you that way too.
Well,
Just
it's
some things to help
usually
you
when
out.
people are coming home from work or going to work.
Yeah, so we contact the police and say, look, it's
Yeah.
that 8 and 5. Sometimes
Yeah.
they'll be able to get a patrol officer up there and then be able to catch them in the act.
And the other thing I just want to let you know is,
The thing is,
oh, I'm sorry.
if it's when people are going to work and coming from work, what you're going to end up seeing is a lot of your friends and neighbors will be the ones getting tickets because that's the.
Absolutely, but I just have to voice my concern
Yeah,
that we can't back our cars out of our driveways without, risk of getting hit.
we
Because
understand.
people are just flying up that hill. And my other concern is that intersection, and that intersection has been a problem ever since I was a little kid. It's a fork, three in the
Very
road.
odd intersection.
Yeah, it sure is.
And the visibility is a problem, and it's just an issue. So it's not that I don't want to see this project done, I just want to see it done right. And I just want, there's been several kids on Van Wagner that have gotten hit by cars and several kids on Sites Terrace that have gotten hit. So I'm just really more concerned about safety at this point.
We appreciate your comments, and
Very
we'll
much.
keep that in mind, definitely work towards solutions to potentially slow that traffic down.
Okay, great. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. In the back?
How are you? John Green in 16 Lindbergh Place. I kind of echo what Mr. Dowdy's concerns were. I live on the corner of Lindbergh and North Grand Avenue, and I'm sure you've heard this issue time and time and again where since the traffic light was put at the end of Marple Road coming, or Delaval Road coming on Innis Avenue, it's often used as a shortcut. People come down North Grand Avenue, make the left onto Lindbergh to avoid that traffic light. So we're just concerned with the added traffic of an apartment complex, people using, our street, which is a residential street, wasn't intended to be a main road. For their shortcuts on the way to work or on their way to Dutchess Community College, so on and so forth. And it's an issue that is, as Mr. Dowdy said, during, rush hour, early mornings, early afternoon. But I don't know if it could be something, if this development's going to happen, if you could change the timing of the traffic lights. I mean, right now, if the light is green on North Grand Avenue in Marple, it's green at the same time on my corner.
Yeah, I
So
know what you
people
mean.
fly down that corner, and living on the corner, sitting out front, kids, nieces, nephews, pets, it is scary just sitting in my front yard, seeing the cars come directly at the house, and there's been plenty of accidents there in the past. So, again, if it's a project that's going to happen, great, the community's expanding, but I think that it would be in the residents' best interest to take into consideration, the proper and safe traffic precautions, and it's, especially with people flying and speeding past there. Like you had said, the city or the town has, put police cars there when they can, when the time allots, and sometimes it is the residents, speeding home and whatnot. But I think possibly maybe changing the timing on the lights so people that don't live there and don't use it as a shortcut won't, because it will take them that 30 seconds longer. Maybe they'll actually go the proper route. And if it's residents there, I think that they would see the value in just having, traffic moving slower in such a, residential area.
That's good suggestion. We'll look at that.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Sir?
Thank you. My name is Frank Carlin. I live at 7 Parkview Terrace, and my main concern at this point with this project is, number one, the traffic. Now, you have at that intersection, the one everybody's talking about with, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You used to have 5 with Van Wagner intersecting there. The traffic light is an old analog system. It's not what you see, these big gray boxes that are all, computerized and stuff. And I've stopped calling the town police because it's not a permanent thing, but this traffic light continues to, because it's old, it's analog, they don't last forever, they don't make them anymore. It's screwing up. It's staying on one color or another longer than it should. And my concern is, who's going to pay for this when it needs to be upgraded? There's going to be a big increase in traffic. There should be, with the apartments that are proposed, there should be an increase in emergency response. There should be increase with these businesses with truck traffic. And I'd like to know who's going to maintain it. Is the town going to, any tax revenue they're going to get from this project, are they going to put it back into the infrastructure? I was at the meeting that Felicia was talking about at the office, and so far these people have done an outstanding job. They took these 3 old houses, they rehabilitated them, they redid the building, they got a business in there now, top notch, nice and clean, neat. And another concern of mine is, Sites Terrace is a wide road, wide enough for just about anything. But if you go north on Raymond Avenue Extension and Van Wagner, and you turn left at that light, you now enter what's called Springside Parkview Terrace, because they kind of meet. Now, right in front of that building, on the corner, that road is very, very narrow. Even in the wintertime, when you get a lot of snow, you can't get 2 cars by there. They tell us there's no plans to do anything about that. There's no plans to repave the roads or do any kind of redesign or to take care of the infrastructure. And I'm serious. I'd like to know, down the road, who's going to pay for this traffic light and to redo that? Is the town going to do that?
You're talking about the light right at the intersection outside of the...
And it may, because of the increase of traffic, may need a certain type of light system, put the sensors in the road, the pressure sensors. There's none of that there now. This is simply that's on a clock. It goes around, and it changes, every so often. I'm concerned about the increase of, like I said, truck traffic and stuff. The road, Van Wagner, Parkview Terrace and Parkview Springside. You can see from when they built the arterial, the difference in the width of the road and the condition of the pavement. From there to that intersection, it's in really bad shape. Now, the town doesn't have a lot of money. The highway department is always saying they're low on, many municipalities don't have the money. Who's going to pay for all this? How is this going to impact what's going to have to be taken? I mean, are we going to be getting, are the taxpayers, are taxes going to go down because of this, this project? I know I only got 3 minutes, so.
All right, take your time. Felicia took more than her allotted time, so.
And another thing concerns me. I'm not against apartment buildings. I don't want to sound like I am, but this area historically has been single-family homes with a few here and there 2-family homes. Why apartments in the woods behind coming in off of Sites Terrace? Why not, like they did years ago on Taft Avenue, put a little dead end and put some single-family homes? Because when you have 23 or whatever amount of apartments are, you're going to get a big increase of traffic. Traffic is going to be a big problem here. And I asked them about the other buildings in the businesses that are going to be on, which would be Springside Parkview Terrace. There's no plans for any sidewalks. Right now, people walk on the road. They have to walk on the road, and many people walk from there over behind Holy Trinity over towards Wendy's and Main Street and that area. All this is going to increase. How are we going to take care of that? How are we going to maintain that with budgets being so constrained? And what exactly is the benefit to us in that neighborhood of all this? If someone can explain that to me, I'd like to know what it is. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm not against progress, and these people have done an outstanding job, done a nice job with the parking lots and the buildings. Like, everything's neat. There's no garbage. There's nothing. It's great. And why expand Arlington Town Center? Historically, you had businesses there like Shrek Electric Motors. Around the corner, you had the overhead door place. You have a electrical contractor that's been there for many, many years. I don't know what the zoning laws were back in the 50s or whatever, but why expand it north? Is it just to accommodate these people?
It's to hopefully get more density into the Arlington Town Center, because the feeling is with more bodies, you're going to have a better attraction for businesses to come into Arlington, to stay in Arlington. So, in terms of apartments, it's the one market that seems to be, there's a demand for it in the town and elsewhere. We don't have enough nice apartments for people to rent. I would think, I would consider these going to be, nicer apartments. So there's a demand for it. There's not the demand for single-family homes, as you had mentioned, but I think the thought process is to try to get a greater density in Arlington Town Center to help that town center. It's the one town center in the town that's working reasonably well, and with more density and more people, we think it would work even better.
Well, that makes complete sense, but if you go into Arlington, there's sidewalks everywhere.
Yeah.
People go from business to business to business, there's sidewalks. There's no sidewalks up there.
Well, I think that's a good point.
And if people, you got sidewalks from the arterial south
Yep.
down to Main Street, and then you have sidewalks everywhere. But if you're
I
going
think-
to,
yeah,
you know,
I think sidewalks are a good thought, and that's certainly something that, I know that, I thought it'd been talked about at the planning board level, but it's certainly something to bring up at the planning board as they're looking at this project, 'cause I think sidewalks, especially in that area where we want to make it more of a walkable community, hopefully the people who are living in those apartments will walk down to Main Street and/or Raymond Avenue and frequent the shops. I think that's the whole idea, so I think
no,
sidewalks are a good.
you're absolutely right.
good
And
thought.
on another quick point, this happened to me a couple of times. On Sites Terrace, they're absolutely right about the traffic on Sites Terrace and how it's increased and the speed of some of the people. And I don't believe that these heavy-footed speeders are people who live there on that street. These are people that are going through. But if you're going south on Sites Terrace, before you go down the hill to the
Yeah,
light,
yeah.
there's the sight distance is limited, and then all of a sudden you can see down. Now, if you're going to have people up who would be coming out of the top, I assume, of Sites Terrace, walking down, and they're in that blind spot, people come down over that hill, someone's going to get hit because there's no, in other words, there's no sidewalks, there's no traffic control, there's no crosswalks. There's nothing. So if they want to make it pedestrian friendly, these are things that have to be considered. And according to them, they have no plans to do this, nor maybe the town isn't asking them to. So again, who's going to have to pay for that? The town. And with all the budget constraints and the money, the way you have to stretch it today, is that money going to be available? To put a new traffic signal in there and to do it right would probably cost you $50,000. You know, it's hard for the town of Poughkeepsie to replace signs that are simply because. So, you know, it has a bigger impact, I think, than a lot of people are considering. And are they asking for a tax break? You know, because they're going to be creating whatever. I think if they want this to go as planned and make it friendly and neighborhood friendly and stuff. Someone needs to invest some more money in the basic infrastructure, and to make it more friendly and easy and accessible and safe for the people in the neighborhood.
Good thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Sir, did you attend the planning board meeting when this was discussed? Did you even know that the meeting was going to happen?
The planning board meeting.
Yeah.
No, I was here one other time concerning this. The people
I
gave a
think
presentation.
we did come to one of the planning boards.
Yeah,
to be
I
honest.
can't differentiate a
And
lot.
did you get a chance, was this information given to the planning board? What we're hearing tonight?
I don't know if this gentleman was here to
I
express these
no,
concerns,
I can tell you, I have talked about this. We did discuss it with the gentlemen who were kind enough to greet us in their office. And they're nice people. They're trying to do a nice job, but they don't have any. According to them, I asked them. They showed us the plan of one building on Springside, Parkview, Springside, of a building, and I said, I don't see any sidewalks. Well, they're in front of our building, but there's no sidewalks the rest of the road. Right now, it's not a big problem because you're not going to have a big increase in traffic. But if you have businesses there, you're going to have an increase in truck traffic, people delivering goods and things like that.
And that's a good
You have
thought.
people walking, you have mothers walking their kids, older people walking, and right now, because of the way the neighborhood's been so long, people walk on the pavement. On Sites Terrace, that's fine, it's nice and wide. But that intersection has gotten more constrained because of what they're doing. And if again, you simply have to have a place where the people can walk and people can be safe. Okay. Right now, that's going to be a problem, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Makes a lot of sense.
Bring that up.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Lorraine?
Yes, I have a question. Was a traffic study done on this development?
I don't know. That would be a planning board issue. So if it was, that they certainly would address that.
Okay, so
I
for
don't know off the
the,
top of my head.
so for the rezoning of this traffic study wasn't
I
looked
don't
at
know
by
off the
the?
top of my head. That would be, it's
No,
not the
not for the
town.
planning-
No,
not-
no, the town board.
No,
the
for the
town board-
rezoning of to the Arlington Town Center?
No.
No, okay.
That would be a traffic study would be a planning board issue. They typically would have their traffic consultant there at the planning board meetings, and those studies would be done at that level. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Norman Dennis, 29 Parkview Terrace. Okay. I can understand the whole routine that's going on, and the traffic is only going to get that much worse on Parkview, especially when we do Phase 3. Okay, I know it's not approved, I know it, but obviously we would need to look into this in case it is approved. Okay, and then because all the traffic is going to sit there, and not only that, they come down Right Sites Terrace, but obviously they're going to make the Twit group and go to the arterial. Okay, and what happened is I need a quick escape. I'm not going to wait at the light for a Raymond Avenue extension. I'm going to right down past my house and go right onto the arterial and scoot out because there's no light there's nothing. And obviously it's a big blind issue right there now, and they want to develop that corner as well. Okay, and you can't see with the trees there now to go out to make the right-hand turn onto the arterial. I don't know. I just want you guys to sit there and think about that as time goes on, because what happens is we have Phase 2, which is in existence, okay, and that's going to create enough traffic. Now, when we go to Phase 3, now we put more apartment houses, and not only that, more commercial businesses, okay? Now, that doubles the big issue, okay? But I don't know if anyone's ever even thinking about that, because we have not got to Phase 3 yet, but Phase 3 will go forward. Okay, because just a statement, you want to bring revenue into the town, you want to bring, businesses into town. Well, obviously, the way I look at it, I would have never bought the property there if I was going to live in a business district. Okay, I mean, I could have went anywhere else. Okay, but just to let you know, and just to keep things in mind, that we just don't need to sit there and, I mean, obviously, it's probably going to go through, but we need to sit there and actually really be stringent of how we're going to do stuff with traffic. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Norm. Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good.
Bill Porter, 22 Sites
Hi, Bill.
Terrace. My concern about this is basically set on a precedent that I think the zoning board dealt with when they allowed Maple Grove to go in on North Grand. That Sites Terrace actually has two access for Maple Grove. One is on the opposite the house next to mine, 24, which is currently a wooded area. And the second one is up about 5 houses down from Dealaval or Marple Road, which is the zoning did not want roads coming out on the Sites Terrace. They wanted utilities to go through there, which they did on the 5 houses down from Marple. And on my area, down there, my area, they kept it as a wooded area. All right. And now changing this concept, or considering changing this concept by allowing an access road coming out on sites, I think one has to weigh that you're coming in at the top of Sites Terrace, the hill there, which in the wintertime is very problematic. The houses north of that area have water issues, and the water from the sump pumps come out onto the street and form like an ice path that comes down the road there. All right. The architect, as two gentlemen before me had indicated, and the properties that he has renovated, did a very nice job, with one exception. The road that exits down onto Raymond Avenue Extension is within like 20 feet or 15 feet of a traffic light. So the roads are basically coming down to the point where the cars that are waiting to go through down Raymond Avenue Extension are going to be potentially impacted. There is a stop sign. Let's just say it might be a rolling sign by staff coming out. Now you're facing on sites. There's 23 units, and I think there's 50 parking spots, what I saw on the site plan when I reviewed it. So potentially 50 additional vehicles are going to be coming out onto Sites Terrace with, I would have to assume, a water issue from drainage. You're taking a natural turf that's there and going to be blacktopping it. Is this water also going to be coming out on the sites? Is the snow removal going to be coming out on the sites? The plow's going to be coming out and plowing across? In addition to potentially 50 cars now coming into a resident's living room, the headlights coming into their living room, which was not there before. And I really think it's something that has to be weighed. There might be alternative ways of different egresses from different areas if this project were to go through. There is potential of rock. When Maple Glen wanted to initially go in with their units, they had to come back to the zoning board and ask that could they cluster them on the northern side because they ran into shale rock problems on the other side. Are we going to be facing that? The road is currently a 5-ton road, maximum. There's a sign on both ends of the street, and I don't know if this is going to be a concern on the structure of the street with vehicles, construction vehicles going in and out. So it's not that you might want to consider those things.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
I'd like to ask a question.
Sure. Not sure we'll have an answer, but you can come on up to the microphone so we can get you on tape.
My first time coming to the meeting about this issue. Are any of the units in the proposed apartment complex, are they proposed that there are any government subsidies, Section 8 or low income? Has that been figured out yet?
No, I don't think so. I think the plan is to have either market level or, slightly above market level apartments. These, from the plans I've seen and the discussions I've heard, these are going to be, on the nicer end of apartments. They're going to be 1,000 square feet, 1,200 square feet. So they're going to be.
The one thing that would lead me to believe that would be the case is that the developer's office is in that building. So my guess is that will be part of the reason why you won't see that. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one, I make a motion to close public hearing number 2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Bill?
Resolution 2, whereas the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie held a duly noticed public hearing on the 20th day of August 2014 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall of the Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, to consider an application to amend the Town Code, Chapter 210, Article 3, specifically Section 210-11, which amendment hereby changes the zoning designation of tax parcel number 6161-08-845933, also known as 57 Springside Avenue, located at and near the intersections of Van Wagner Road, Springside Avenue, Sites Terrace, from an R20 district to an Arlington Town Center district. And whereas the town clerk notified the clerks of the surrounding municipalities of the public hearing pursuant to General Municipal Law 239NN, and whereas the legal notice of the public hearing was posted on August 7, 2014, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on August 9, 2014, and whereas on July 17th, the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board, as lead agency for the proposed action to amend the zoning map and to obtain subdivision site plan and lot line revision approvals, adopted a negative declaration, an unlisted action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas on July 17, 2014, the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board recommended adoption of the hearing zoning amendment, and whereas a written recommendation dated June 24, 2014, was received from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development pursuant to a referral by the Town Board under General Municipal Law 239M, and that said recommendation stated that the adoption of the herein zoning amendment is a matter of local concern, and whereas the Town Board has reviewed the zoning amendment application, the recommendations herein, and public comments, therefore be it enacted that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie, pursuant to a duly noticed public hearing held on the 20th day of August 2014 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, does hereby amend the Town Code, Chapter 210, Article 3, specifically Section 210-11, which amendment hereby changes the zoning designation of tax parcel number 6161-08-845933, also known as 57 Springside Avenue, located at and near the intersection of Van Wagner Road, Springside Avenue, and Sites Terrace, from an R20 district to an Arlington Town Center district. And be it further enacted that said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion from the Town Board?
Yeah, I'd like to say, I'd like to thank the residents for coming out and speaking their feelings. It's a big part. I also want to try to make sure that we understand that we hope that the developers can help work with the residents of the area. I hope that the town police can help us with some of the problems of traffic. And on the town side, us, including zoning, planning, we all try and do our best to help everybody out so we can make this be successful.
If I'm reading this correctly in the supporting documentation, all we're doing is changing the zoning for that particular parcel.
That's right.
Yep.
And on page 2, the zoning board at that July 23rd meeting postponed all of those, and there's a list of 15 items that have to be reviewed,
Mike,
so.
do you know when you're back before the planning board? Is there a date set yet?
We're submitting to the planning board. We'll be submitting on Monday,
Okay.
and that'll be for the September 8th meeting, I believe, 8th or 18th.
So they hope to come before the planning board again in September. So if you want to watch the agendas as they come out, maybe keep in touch with Felicia, our town clerk. She can let the residents know when they will again be before the planning board, because many of the suggestions you made tonight, such as sidewalks and ideas like that, I think are great ideas. Those really need to be brought to the planning board. Obviously, we'll, give them our, the messages that we've heard tonight, but I think if you're at the September meeting, if at all possible, if you can't be there, to write a letter expressing those issues, that would be very helpful.
They did mention at the meeting at Tinkelman's
Yep.
that the traffic part of it really isn't the developer's issue, just.
The road.
The road and
configuration.
and all that.
Right.
That's nothing, they can't really do anything about that. That's what they said.
I mean, the road is what it is, so we've got to try to calm traffic through there and eliminate the people speeding up, whether it's Sites Terrace or
I don't know what the
going
answer-
the wrong way down your road, but that's, unfortunately, it's a problem all over town. People are in a big rush. I don't really understand it, but we'll work on that. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing number 3, Country Club Sewer District.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here? I see our town engineers coming up to the microphone, so we'll let them.
Going to give a little presentation.
Sure, that'd be great.
First of all, so that everybody knew what we were talking about, hopefully
Yep.
answer some
Thank
of the
you.
questions long before they're asked.
Brief presentation.
Brief. Yeah, probably will be 5 or 6 minutes. Late last year, the board authorized, I'm sure that you remember, Morris Associates to prepare a map plan and report, which is required before the town board can bond to fund a district. And the map plan and report, which I have a copy of, and I'm sure all of you got it as well earlier this week, or late last week, the map plan and report lays out the proposed improvements for connection from Country Club to the Arlington wastewater treatment plant. And it also lays out who is benefited by that district and what the anticipated cost is. And Mark Long, who worked on the map plan and report, is here from Morris Associates, and he's going to go over and explain the map plan and report. We're going to have some handouts, and he'll give some to you, and I will give some to the audience, just to make sure that everybody understands what we're doing.
Okay, great.
Great big map of sewer. Wonderful. Let's go, Mark.
They're already in the plan.
Thank you.
So a brief history of the project. The Country Club Estate Sewer District is composed of 129 parcels. They're mostly residential. There are some utility companies and 2 tenants to the district, which are a hotel located north of Rochambeau Lane and Oak Grove Elementary School at the end of Kerr Road. The district conveys sewage to an existing sewage treatment plant by a series of gravity and force mains to the treatment plant. Plant was constructed in the 1960s and it has reached the end of its useful life. In September of last year, an engineer's report was prepared contemplating the replacement of the plant and upgrading with treatment processes to meet expected stricter rules in sewage treatment plant discharges. The cost for that upgraded technology would be about $1.7 million estimated. A less expensive to that alternative was sought. So the first map, shows you that district boundary and where it is. The second map is conceptual improvement plan. So what is proposed is to connect to existing gravity sewer, run new sewer to Route 9, go through an existing casing that was an empty casing that was installed by New York State DOT in the 80s, go through that casing, install a new pump station on the west side of Route 9, pump that to existing gravity sewer that was installed as part of the Three Partners subdivision. That'll go head north on Route 9. It will enter an equalization tank that was constructed part of the Casper Kill Ridge subdivision, and then eventually go into an existing pump station for the Three Partners pump station. As part of the improvements, the air piping in that equalization tank would be upgraded. Also a requirement is to extend a force main from the hotel to our new gravity sewer. That would be part of the project. At the completion of that, the existing plant would be decommissioned in place, tanks would be filled, pipes plugged, equipment removed. Okay, so as far as the costs of the district, that's another handout. So the anticipated construction cost is about $600,000 with contingency, including administrative, legal, engineering, financing, acquisition of 2 easements that would be required, the map plan and report, appraisal of the easements, and seeker. And at Arlington Capital buy-in, the total anticipated cost would be $1.45 million. As far as the impacts on residents, that's our next handout. So the district is each parcel in the district is assessed benefit units, and basically for each residential parcel in the district is assessed at 1 benefit unit. The hotel and the school would be assessed at more benefit units. We analyzed a 20 and 30 year bond at an estimated 4% interest rate, with the yearly payment divided by the total number of benefit units in the district. We come up with the cost to each, for each benefit unit. With elimination of the plant, the O&M cost that the residents currently pay, that each parcel currently pays, would decrease because of, less O&M required to run the plant. So with a 30-year bond, the expected yearly payment for each benefit unit would be $533.95. With a 20-year bond, it would be $604.09. So with the 20-year bond, it would be an increase for one benefit unit for the current, for a typical one-family home of $165.40. With a 30-year bond, excuse me, with a 30-year bond, it would be $165.40. With a 20-year bond, it would be $235.54. Next thing is project schedule. So project schedule, it's anticipated that design would begin this year and be well on its way by early next year. Submit to approving agencies, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the Department of Transportation by April. Gain approvals and go to bid in the middle of the year, and completion of the project by early 2016. And that's
what we have.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to questions from anybody in the audience. Yes, right in front. Don, you guys might as well stay up here.
Just spoke, since I think they're the key
You're probably
folks.
going to.
My first question, Joe Steinman.
Hello.
Brooklands Farm Road.
Hi.
The pay, I asked before I came up whether there's any further discussion planned on the breakout of those costs, and the answer was no. So my first question involves that breakout. The Arlington capital buy-in cost of $555,000. I'd like to have a more detailed explanation of what that means.
Okay.
That's a major portion of this cost. I understand that Arlington owns that, a lot of the transmission lines, et cetera, that this will be hooked into. But it still seems like a really outlandish cost.
It's based on the average water use and the flow that the treatment plant's receiving. What do we take, a 3-year average, or?
Yes.
Took a 3-year average of the flow, and it's strictly based on the flow.
Yeah, we came up with about 37,000 gallons a day, plus you have to have some I&I allowance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it's
So that's the hit
calculated.
to the plant and the system, and their part of the system.
Yes. Yeah.
It still sounds like a pretty high percentage of the cost.
Mm-hmm.
More than I would have expected to see, whatever that's worth. The other thing that it was mentioned how our costs are derived as individuals, and it was also said that the two major contributors to the flow, the hotel and the school system, were higher, but there was no indication of how much higher they are. We've had issues with the school system charges when they were initiated. I know the engineering studies that were done supported that, but I've talked to a number of engineers during and since then, and they said that those charges are a joke in terms of the actual usage. And some of the people that worked for the sewer department at that time agreed with those judgments, even though they didn't publicly state them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the assertion that there's somehow the town is hiding.
I didn't say you're hiding.
Well, let me, you asked me a question, now let me answer your question. The way I heard it was that somehow the school should be paying more. We've got no reason to be charging the Wappinger Center School District less than what we're charging them. I know in those lines we've put meters to actually meter the water flow. I'd much prefer, I've got to answer to you. I don't have to answer to the school district.
No,
So
I understand.
I'd much prefer to be able to tell you that they're using more water and get more money from them than I would have to, than we have to get from the residents. So we've tried to meter that water flow, try to be as careful as we can to make sure they're paying their fair share.
All the metering that's been done so far supports
Yeah, so far.
that usage.
We're trying to find, we'd like to find, if they're using more, we'd like to know it, yeah.
Are we metering also the hotel?
Don, have we metered the hotel?
Right now, if we metered the hotel, we wouldn't be getting much because there isn't much coming out of it.
We're probably going to be in worse shape if we do.
I do understand that. I didn't mean to indicate that I think the hotel is really doing that well. I understand that.
We're probably better off not metering them right now and leaving well enough alone.
I was just curious more than anything else
no
on
problem.
that point.
No problem.
All right. At this point, that's all I really wanted to ask
Okay,
about.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Armstrong?
Commissioner.
Whatever it is, yeah, gotcha.
Joe Armstrong, Colette Drive. Some time ago, we had a meeting on this, same subject, that the sewer department people were here, some of the board members were here, some of the district people were here. This time, of course, things are broken down in a little bit more detail on some of the costs or some of the different items that had to be done. Ironically, it come out to the same total amount somehow with prices changing for different subjects or different items that had to be done. I'm not against the project. It has to be done. Money will be saved in operation of the old plant that's not going to be there anymore. The people who would be maintaining it, I have questions as to whether it was maintained probably through so many years for the tanks to rust out and never be taken care of, but that's another subject. The land that this was on, who owns the land that this plant was setting on right now?
Town owns
The town
it.
owns that whole
Yeah.
parcel, so we just stay town property and left barren. The biggest problem I have, and I've brought it up more than once, is that we're being charged at this point now $555,000 to buy in. And this irks the daylights out of me.
I know.
We are not a new customer. We've paid for our system, paid for the water, and we're still going to be paying for it. We're just diverting it to a different plant. And we're paying for that up front of about half the cost of the $1.4 million. And I can't get my mind around how, as a customer now, we are just being charged a $555,000 bill for no reason that I can see. Where's that money going? Why are we being, I know you're charging us because of how much gallonage you think we use, or that we use. But we're paying for that, and we'll still be paying for that. And here's another $555,000 that's just thrown into the pot. Now, if it were a new development being done, I could understand that. Estimating or whatever. I'm amazed at some of the difference in the cost that you're charging for some things. That the easement went way down from $100,000 to $22,000 to get the easement to put the pipe in, but this administrative cost at $212,000, I'm not even sure where that is in this original list we have. Do you know where that would be?
It was held as a percentage throughout every line item when the original
Figured
report
into
was put
each
together, yeah.
item? All right,
Yep.
now it's broken out into
What percent
detail.
is it?
What's that?
What percent, like 25%?
212,000 out of $1.4 million
Well, it's real, I mean, it's really.
for the people to write this up and figure out how much they're going to charge us.
It's probably, it's,
I mean, it's really 212, you back out.
of the total, it's probably about, if you didn't count the buy-in, it's probably around 25%.
I know I'm wasting my breath because evidently you've made your decision because you're already talking in the next session, the next item coming up, you go into bonding for this money. And I think at the cost you mentioned that it's going to cost each individual with the way the economy is and the way people are struggling to pay their everyday bills, it's a shame. That 550,000 would help people a whole lot if it
Well,
wasn't in
the
there.
problem is, Mr. Armstrong, as you know, and you're on the fire commissioner, you know how to.
Excuse me, that has nothing to do with
Well,
this.
but
I'm a taxpayer
but
like everyone else.
I understand that, but you understand the budgets and the challenges. These people who are part of the Arlington Sewer Treatment Plant have also paid for years and years and years for their plant and the upgrade of that and the upkeep. If we let all of you come in for free, where you had your own sewer plant, this room would be full of those people saying that's not fair. So, I mean, we're trying to base it on your flow. Your water never went to Arlington before. It was treated at the plant.
Yes.
And the
We
clean
still
water
paid
was
for that.
spilled into the.
We still paid for
We
that.
can put
And
a new plan in if you'd
Don,
like, but it's going to cost more.
We're
Correct me
still
if I'm
going to
wrong.
be paying for what's going to
Everybody
go there.
that-
We're not getting it for free.
Every new tenant that buys into the Arlington Sewer Treatment Plant pays the same rate, correct? It's based on their usage with the same rate. Everybody pays it.
That's
We're not-
Everybody.
We're paying for what
Whether
we
you're
put
t-
in there. You're just hitting
Every
us with
town
another
resident
amount.
that connects into that sewer plant at some point pays the same rate. It's not something that was adjusted for you guys up or down. It just is what it is.
We've tried to make it as fair as possible. Yes. Yeah, come on up.
I'm Harvey Frankel, 5 Wayne Drive in the Country Club Estates. What a pretentious name. I'm assuming that we're going to have to go along with this, and that unless Todd has a wealthy grandmother who's going to donate a great deal of money, we're going to have to issue bonds. Now, I'm no bond expert, but I know a little about them, and I know that with the double tax exempt municipal bonds, the rates are usually quite favorable. If it really is as much as 40%, 4% for 30 years, it seems like a 20-year loan would be a lower rate. I'm not even sure that it should be 4% for the 30.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I'm not sure either. Are we just trying to?
Well, yeah, we're trying to be conservative, number one.
I know we've done better than that on
The town will be seeking Environmental Facilities Corporation financing, which allows you to be subsidized, and they give the lowest rate. And I've been working with the comptroller trying to get the exact number.
Yeah.
We didn't get that as of today. So the worst thing for us here is to go through this map plan and report process and then put out bids and have a number which is higher than what we have in the map plan and report, because that means you will have to come back and amend the map plan and report again in the future. So
Yeah.
these numbers should hopefully be taken as conservative, and it should be able to be going down.
And the amount that eventually gets paid is based on what the actual financing is.
Correct.
Will this be based on the town's rating? Is the rating on these bonds going to be AAA or only AA?
Good question.
It should be on the towns because it's the town that's financing it.
So
yeah, through the district through the town.
That
We're double A.
we're a big, capital A, small a, 1 or 2. We've got a very strong rating, so, and I know some, bond we just recently did, I think we locked in for under 2%, so it's likely we can be less than 4. That's a great
Yeah.
question,
And the
hopefully
last
that'll hold up.
part is whether the bonds will be callable.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Me neither.
If you call tomorrow, I can try to find out for you. Anybody else? Yes.
Bob Ulrich, 29 Brooklands Farm Road. Just a piece of history to keep in mind. I've been in the development, excuse me, since about 1971 and learned soon after moving in that a few years earlier, the sewer system had been approved. Unfortunately, and this is what I want to get to, there was federal funding available that would have paid for 90% of it. The town attorney or someone in the town failed to apply for it. And we, as a sewer district, ended up having to fund 100% instead of only 5 or 10%. And that's been an anchor around our necks ever since, assessments every year. If there is federal funding available, that should be investigated to see if we can help reduce this financial impact. And if it is available, let's ensure that we file the right paperwork on time 45 years after the first mix-up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that tip.
Gentleman in the blue?
Chuck Goldsmith, 11 Scotland Court. I just have a quick question, I think probably for the engineer. They put markings on our road from the school out to Spring Road and pipe out there. What is that for? Is that for part of the sewer?
That's that gas thing.
It's a gas main.
Oh, it's a gas main.
We won't have construction, if you look at the schedule, you'll see we won't have construction starting until probably the middle of next year.
Okay, I just wondered what the markings was all of a sudden that appeared there, because I couldn't see that could be sewer pipe by any means, so I didn't know what it was.
No.
All right.
Thank you. Rob?
Thank you, Rob Rubin. I'm very impressed with these plans. Good job. And the work supporting it. All that I would ask, though, that this, if it's possible, that this type of information that you passed out tonight on a, whatever you deem necessary, but on a consistent basis, would you please consider emailing this type of information, with your approval, that is, to the Wappinger School Board, to our superintendent and the Board of Education, just so that we can be kept up in the loop on what's happening?
Sure.
Thank you.
We will. Thanks, Rob.
Do the residents of the district get anything in the mail or any notification that this is going to change or anything else?
Bill, Councilman Carlos
I
has
sent out a
distributed
notice.
flyers. We had a meeting here, I don't know, 6 months ago for the residents. to
'Cause
try
I was going to say,
inform them.
might be good to send that information out to the people that are actually impacted by this, or, 1 or 2 page information sheet. Because some people don't come to these meetings or watch them on TV.
When I read the first map and plan, you said to me that was preliminary, and I see the changes. So if I'm on the right page now, the total increase for a unit house in that area would be $165 for a year. So whatever their current bill is, it will go up $165?
Right, assuming a 4% bond for 30 years, yes.
So it could actually be less if we get a better bond rate?
Yes.
Okay. Then the other question I have is, the Arlington Capital buy-in, I understand what that comes from. If this was a brand-new neighborhood of 200 houses, there'd be a buy-in. But I think that could be a negotiable point with Arlington.
It's, everybody that connects into Arlington pays the same rate. We don't negotiate that, correct? It's just, no matter who it is, where it is.
You never have.
Residents.
Negotiable.
I mean, you are the representatives of the Arlington
I
Sewer
mean, let me
District.
put it this way. If we negotiate this time, we'll have to will be expected to potentially negotiate everything.
Well, the difference here is this is not a new development that's being built, but to add to everything. This is a current existing neighborhood that the sewer plant is shut.
But you have other people that have hooked up in other parts of the town that are town residents. So
Yeah, but they're
clearly it's
new.
not.
I'm talking about, this is a new entity to the Arlington School Sewer
Well,
District.
the other option is for them to rebuild and redo the plant, which is extremely more expensive. The capital of the Arlington plant was paid for by the people that are currently in that district, and everybody that comes through the door at Town Hall asking to connect pays that same rate. It's fair. That's why it's fair. If we start changing that, to me, that's where the inequity comes in, where different people are paying different rates depending on whether they argue, whether they didn't argue, who represented them, who didn't represent them. And that's where I think you create a lot of mess.
All the districts are the same.
One point on this discussion.
We'll let you, but you're gonna have to come to the microphone in order to do it.
All the districts are the same down in Tri-Municipal, even if you're a resident. and you have
So there's a buy-in for each one. The only difference that I see is, this is a district that's been in existence, that plant, for 50-something years. It's not like it's a decision that was made by those residents to buy into the sewer district. They don't have too much of a choice.
But we can always, as Councilman Cracker said, the alternative would be to just rebuild.
I understand, and that's much more expensive.
And it's not as good an option overall for anybody, in my opinion. We're eliminating a sewer plant, which, is the whole governor's plan to consolidate and streamline and downsize government.
He's given money to consolidate.
Well, if he'll give us any money, we'll take it. Trust me. Sir?
The only question I had, or a point I'd like to make, is sort of relevant to what this gentleman just said. The assessments that are being issued in the majority of cases for new members are on an individual homeowner basis. There's very few that involve a whole sewer district. So I'd say, just from that point alone, the argument should be, we're not talking about individuals, we're talking about a large number of people. And usually that wields a little bit of power in negotiations if the people that are doing the negotiation are going to use that power. It's not individuals now. It's over 100 people plus 2 businesses, large businesses. And that's a big difference between saying that everybody that's joining into the Arlington district is paying the same rate, when the vast majority
It's all
are
based on
individuals.
flow. I hear you. It's all based on flow, though. We're using your average flow.
No, I understood the point you made. It's
We
not that I'm
actually,
disagreeing
we
with that.
originally had before we got a more accurate flow, we had a higher flow number because you're approved for more flow. And we were using that approved number, but, in talking to Councilman Carlos, our engineering team, we wanted to try to get the most accurate numbers we could, so we took your average 3-year flow, and it actually was lower than what you're approved for, so it did reduce that number some.
But as you heard from a few of us, it
Yeah, I
still
understand.
seems like an outlandish course. I don't know
I
how
know.
else to put it.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Yeah, before you move ahead, if there's no one else.
We're adjourning the public hearing, correct?
Yes, the suggestion of Don and the development director and I is that it be adjourned. You want to move this ahead, but you have to finish seeker, and they're making sure it's done right.
Yep.
So originally I was going to suggest adjourning it, the public hearing, to the 17th. But my suggestion is to adjourn it to the 3rd. If seeker is done and we can finish it that night, that's fine. That might fit better with the notice provisions for the bonding.
Well, the only concern I have is, I don't want, I don't know if it's gonna be done, and generally I would agree, but I don't want people to show up, not really have anything to give them, and knowing we're gonna adjourn it.
Okay, well then.
We adjourned it, and if we adjourn it to the 17th, but can have a special meeting a week earlier, which is our committee of the whole, could we then do that or no?
But we have to have time to notify the community.
Date certain, so that it doesn't have to be re-advertised. So if you wanted to put it on for, I guess it's the 10th, and set a special meeting to have it then, you could do that. But if we adjourn it to the 17th.
Well, I think the 17th is within the timelines that have been established, correct?
Are we under a deadline for this?
Yes.
The state DEC deadline?
We've been pressured, I guess would be the best way to put it. We do not have a consent order, but we have been pressured by New York State DEC to move this project along. And I did prepare a letter which the supervisor reviewed, which said that we would have this done by September the 17th. We actually thought we were going to beat the schedule by a month, but turns out because seeker is not finished, we aren't able to do that.
Okay. Can I ask Mr. Beer a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was Douglas copied on the information about the 17th? Good friend.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
So I would say that if this, yes, sir, Mr. Frankel, yeah.
Hope we switch seats.
Confusing us.
I did have one other thought.
Okay.
Because the sewer costs are related directly to the water costs. I think they're up to 50% now. Whatever we pay for water, it's an additional 50% for sewer. If this is going to cost more for water, then I certainly hope that this is not going to increase the cost of our sewer bill.
Water rate's not impacted at all by that. It's just sewer.
Okay.
Yeah, that won't. So, okay, so I make a motion to adjourn the public hearing till September, and the third meeting in September is the 17th, Felicia?
Yes, it is.
To September 17th? Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of the adjournment?
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd just like to point out this map planning report is on file with the town clerk. It is on the website, so if there are people in Mr. Carlos's ward that want to access it, that's a couple of different ways they can.
Okay, thank you. So Jim, in terms, okay, so we still will take up number 4 when we get to it?
Do we do it at the 17th?
Or should we?
What I would do is I would put over resolutions 3 and 4.
Okay.
Because you don't want to adopt them until you finish seeker, and you don't want to.
Okay, good.
So do I need to make a motion to do that?
I'd do that, yes.
So I make a motion to take items 3 and 4 and put them over to the 17th.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and now,
17th is the right day.
17th is the right date. Hey, we've got a couple, before we go any further, I'm going to do a couple appointments because we have some people waiting very patiently. We have a couple of new police officers that are going to be appointed tonight, so let's do item number 5 first. It will be Ryan J. Watt.
Okay. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Ryan J. Watt to the position of full-time police officer under the provisions of civil service law dealing with a resignation reinstatement at the yearly salary of $54,669, no cents, effective September 15th, 2014, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 26 nor more than 52 weeks per civil service law. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Welcome.
Thanks for being patient.
This brown out there.
Welcome aboard. Congratulations.
And then we have Brian Southworth Jr.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Brian Southworth Jr. to the position of full-time police officer under the provisions of civil service law dealing with a resignation reinstatement at the yearly salary of $54,669, effective September 15, 2014, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 26 nor more than 52 weeks per civil service law. So moved.
Motion is
Second?
There's an amended one.
I'm sorry,
Get-
yeah.
Did you not read
The
it?
last
Here.
sentence and
Okay.
conditioned on.
F right here.
All right, yeah. Which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 26 nor more than 52 weeks per civil service law and conditioned on Officer Southworth providing proof of reimbursement to the city of Newburgh for his training expenses prior to his beginning employment on September 15th, 2014.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Welcome aboard. For your patience, guys, you can stick around for the rest of the meeting if you're interested.
You residents, feel free. Sure.
Get a good idea.
All right, I'm going to read through the rest of our agenda. It's not very long, and then we'll take questions on agenda items. Number 7 is to authorize a tax cert for College View Properties. 8 is to consent for Planning Board to act as a lead agency for Marist College Natural Science and Allied Health Building. 9 is to consent for Planning Board to lead agency for Lutheran Care. 10 is to authorize Shrom Israel Temple Bethel to construct an Eruv. 11 is to authorize bidding for the Arlington wastewater treatment plant replacement heating and AC equipment. 12 is to authorize the bidding for, again, the Arlington wastewater treatment plant secondary clarifier basins. 13 is to approve a block party in Alfred Drive. 14 is notification of a liquor license renewal for Monkey McGee's. 15 is to accept town board minutes, and then we have one special consent item, and that's to set a public hearing date for traffic amendment to an intersection in New Hamburg for a stop sign. So I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for public comment on agenda items.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here to speak to an agenda item? Doreen?
I have a question about the liquor license renewal for Monkey McGee's, and I want to know, Mr. Carlos, has there been a lot of issues with that bar in the Red Oaks Mill Plaza?
Not that
that
I've
you're
been
aware
told
of?
about.
Okay.
Doreen, when theirs came up last time, we had a copy given and they had a few issues. And I'm going to ask the chief if he comes back in, if he has any more issues.
I have some I could say on that a little bit. There was a few blotters that I was given. I actually called the State Liquor Authority, and as of a few years ago, the restaurants that are renewing their liquor license actually don't have to even alert us anymore. I asked them what we could do, and a gentleman gave me an email address that I can give directly to the police. So whenever the police have any issue, they do want to still hear about it, but there's really not a lot that the town, other than sending a letter or anything. I was told that I have a public affairs actual email address, and so anybody that has a concern, police or otherwise.
I know a few years back, when this came up, we did have some concerns, but I agree with council.
Any licensee under state alcohol, any licensee has a problem on the premises, they can be referred to have an action against the license. So whether it's a big fancy restaurant or
Right.
Monkey, whatever the hell this is, they come the same way. They have the same.
I haven't heard of any new issues.
And I haven't heard any.
I was wondering the same.
And I would have
heard
heard.
that they went down from the amount of.
And Doreen, I'm sure I would have heard.
Okay, all right.
And I have the email if anybody wants it.
Anybody else? Rob?
What's the name?
Rob, seems like you got something funny on your mind because you're smiling.
No.
All right.
This is really
Not
just
that he's
minor.
been fair.
But Todd, don't be embarrassed. Just a correction. It's Shomrei Israel.
Oh, it is. Oh, sorry
That's
about that. I was more worried about the Eruv than the.
That you did
Mr. Rubin,
fine on.
I knew that. Anybody else? See no one to make a motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And number 7?
Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the settlement of a tax review proceedings instituted by College View Properties, LLC, for the tax assessment rolls of 2013 and 2014 as shown on the attached consent order, and judgment, and be further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize Todd N. Tancredi, Supervisor Kyle Barrett, Esquire of Vanderwater and Vanderwater LLP, and Kathleen Tabor, Town Assessor, to sign such papers as are necessary to effectuate said settlement. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Yeah, this is, College View Properties LLC is Vassar College, right?
It's 12 Raymond Avenue.
No.
I don't know exactly
I don't.
which
I don't
parcel
think
it
so.
is.
I think they're called something else.
12 Raymond is the location.
It's,
Vassar have like a College Properties LLC or something.
Yeah, but it's a
So
different.
what property is this?
I don't know, 12, I don't just know the address, and I know the town refund is $1,363. I don't know the exact property.
12 Raymond
12
Ave.
Raymond.
Look it up, but it's
That
the
one.
same thing.
It's going from 900 down to 750.
It's a big change.
It's a reduction of 150.
Approximate town refund is $1,363.
Because there's been a lot of new businesses and improvements over there, so I'm just wondering which one went down that much.
It's just a big change.
One burned.
That's a big change.
I couldn't tell you that. I don't know I know the address, I don't know which one it is.
And even the LLC, you can't look that up unless you look it up. You have to send a letter to the state.
I'm sure Kathleen
Partners
would
on it.
know if,
Just so you know.
but she's not here, so I don't know, do you want to hold it up to find out which one it is, or?
Not unless anybody else does, but.
I'm gonna vote no for it, I don't care. If it passes, it passes. I'm voting no for it. That's a big change for a piece of property in Raymond Avenue that's progressing and going forward. But that's my
Well,
opinion.
maybe we should find out more information about it then.
If we vote no on it,
We,
Then it goes to
We
court.
want to be careful
Yeah, we don't.
voting no.
Then it goes to-
Want to hold it up and find out what the
Don, you have
address is,
something on
but I
your
don't
phone?
think you should
Wait a
just.
second, Don's got something.
Which one is it?
You guys, none
Technology.
of you guys have this app other than
how
Don?
come we haven't got a technology
Oh,
thing?
that one.
Where is
You want
it?
technology?
Yeah,
I thought, Burkhold's
Yeah.
MD Imaging?
yeah. It's where Dee Dee is.
Corner there?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dee
That
Barrett's
brown
always
one.
in
Different
there.
than where I thought it was, like.
Yeah, I thought it was further. I thought it was
Yeah.
closer in.
Okay.
It's the old right next to it.
Oh, yours is better. It looks
So
better.
if we don't accept it, it goes to court and there can be a
Potentially.
ruling which is forced on us.
That's on the opposite end, and that's a building that old,
Yeah?
and,
Yeah, it's
Probably-
all the slats in it.
yeah.
So, everybody okay?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Yep.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1. All right, number 8. Be it resolved that the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby consent to the Town of Poughkeepsie Plan Board acting as secret lead agency for the project known as Marist College Natural Science plus Allied Health Building, Beck Place and Fulton Street, Poughkeepsie, New York, tax parcel number 616205005805, and 007795 and 002778 and 6162-02-999762 and 995788 and 974742. So moved.
Second?
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby consent to the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board acting as secret lead agency for a project known as Lutheran Care Network Assisted Living Facility, 382 Van Wagner Road, with frontage on 44 AKA Dutchess Turnpike, Poughkeepsie, New York, tax parcel 6262-02567523. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Yeah, does this property have sewer connection?
Yes. Up over the back to Van Wagner.
Runs on the,
This is the back on the top
Arlington?
of
Yeah.
the back side.
It goes into, I'm not sure if this goes, Don, does this go into Arlington or does it go into, not Arlington?
Okay.
Wasn't
What
sure.
are they doing over there?
They want to put in assisted living apartments up on the hill, kind of behind the
A
nursing
lot of them
home.
or a few or?
69 units, I
found
think. So they paid that buy-in fee back when they got their approvals originally, correct? Yeah, okay,
And that's the same by,
right, yeah,
so that's 16, if it's
69.
69, it's 69 units.
right.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolution 10, whereas the congregations Shmor Israel, Shomei Israel, and Temple Bethel have proposed to create an Eruv. And whereas the Eruv is a symbolic enclosure which surrounds the Jewish community within the boundaries of which members of the Jewish community may carry on the Sabbath, which includes the uses of wheelchairs, strollers, and other assisted devices, thereby increasing the ability of members of the community to take part and enjoy the Sabbath, and enhancing the quality of life in the Jewish community. And whereas the establishment of the Eruv requires that a 3/4-inch conduit be placed on utility poles which define the perimeter of the Eruv, which conduit runs from the ground to the bracket of the lowest horizontal wire on the pole, but does not connect to the wire or extend vertically from any of the poles. And whereas Congregation Roar Israel and Temple Bethel propose to create the Eruv in a portion of the town and city, the perimeter which is shown on the attached sketch. And whereas the town has determined that the utility poles in question are not the property of town, but may be located on town property right-of-way, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie consents to the creation of the Eruv described above, provided that the conduit is maintained in good order and repair. The congregation obtains all necessary permits and consents which are required for the installation of conduit on utility poles, and that the congregation name the town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured on their liability insurance policies as related to the establishment and maintenance of the Eruv. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Rabbi Neal did contact me about this, and it's actually really interesting. And the portion that's in the town is actually tiny. It's just a little corner here off of Cedar Avenue onto Walnut Hill Road. So primarily, it's in the city of Poughkeepsie.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the town clerk to advertise for bids for the Arlington wastewater treatment plant replacement heating and AC equipment pursuant to plans and specifications to be prepared by the town engineer, which plans and specifications will be available on August 21st, 2014 in the office of the town clerk, with a bid opening to be held on September 22nd, 2014 at 11 a.m. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby reserve the right to accept or reject all bids in whole or part. And be it further resolved that the town board does hereby determine this action is a type 2 action requiring no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
This being done in-house?
The upgrade?
No, the plans being all drawn up, Don's doing in-house?
No.
Are we going?
This in-house? We don't answer until you come on. Come on up. So we can get you on tape.
If you remember, there were 3 parts to an approval the town board did about probably 6 months or so ago. This part, the first one, was prepared by the town engineering department. The second part was one that we contracted with United Water on.
Anything else?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
12.
Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the town clerk to advertise for bids for the Arlington wastewater treatment plant secondary clarifier basins equipment replacement pursuant to plans and specifications to be prepared by the town engineer, which plans and specifications will be available on August 21, 2014 at the office of the town clerk, with a bid opening to be held on September 22, 2014 at 11 o'clock a.m. And be it further resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby reserves the right to accept or reject all bids in whole or part. And be it further resolved that the town board does hereby determine this action is a type 2 action requiring no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application submitted by Scott McMahon to hold a block party on Alfred Drive on September 6, 2014, with a rain date of September 7, 2014, from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. It does hereby authorize the town of Poughkeepsie Police Department Traffic Division to close said street, but allow access for emergency vehicles from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. And be further resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby waive the open container law in the event alcoholic beverages are to be served. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next one is a notification of our liquor license renewal for Monkey McGee's. Chief, someone had asked a question about the establishment is, as far as you're concerned, everything's, a couple years ago, we had some discussion, but.
They took steps to address it.
Yeah, why don't you come on up?
We know you go there a lot too, so we figured you could throw your.
Jim Wadowitz, Town Controller. They took steps to address the behavior issues. There have been calls for service there, but they're typical of licensed premises that entertain young people, and a lot of the things that occur there can occur anywhere. So they're running a responsible business, and I don't have an issue with their.
Good, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So 14 is notification of the liquor license renewal. 15, be resolved that the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby accept the minutes of the following 2014 Town Board minutes to wit: July 9, regular Town Board meeting; July 16th, special Town Board meeting plus Committee of the Whole; July 23rd, regular Town Board meeting. So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby grant special consent to the following items to wit: 1, set a date for public hearing, amend vehicle and traffic stop intersection Main Street, New Hamburg at Reed Road, and be it further resolved that upon the objection of any member of the Town Board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Special consent 1, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby set the third day of September 2014 at 7 p.m. at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, as and for the time, date, and place of a public hearing to consider an amendment to the Town Code, Chapter 195, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, specifically 195 sub 44, Schedule 9, stop intersections, which amendment would be as follows: add 195-44 Schedule 9, stop intersections, Main Street, New Hamburg, both directions of travel at the intersection of Reed Road. Be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does determine that this is a Type 2 action requiring no environmental review, and be it further resolved that if adopted, said local laws shall become effective immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
The only bit I have to say on this, Todd, is Mr. Armstrong was asked why we put these on. This was tied into the bridge project in New Hamburg. They put a temporary stop sign in at this location last year when they started the bridge. And after talking to numerous residents down there, they're in favor of keeping it there. And the bridge should be done within 2 weeks. They'll be driving on the bridge, and that sign would come down. But they want to get on the agenda and get it going. There was a major issue over the winters. All the cars ended up in people's driveways, not necessarily at that intersection, but coming around the corner, not stopping, because there's a visibility issue on the corner. So this is actually almost a year trial run. Now the residents are going to have it kept there.
Yeah, I remember the community meeting you held down there in the spring. Residents had raised this issue, so.
And we had about 75 residents there that night,
Yeah.
so there was definitely a good turnout. And the ones that weren't there have all voiced their opinion, except for the ones that go through it, that they would like to keep it there.
All right. Okay, we approve that?
No, you just did the
We have a
second.
motion
We
and a
need
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. That brings us to the end of our agenda. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for public comment on town issues.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody who would like to address the board? Rob? You should have sat closer to the front. You wouldn't have to be walking so much.
I got long step. Exactly. This is just an observation that affects many municipalities. If the people are not aware of that, the public is not aware, we're affected by something called the gap elimination adjustment by New York State, where New York State, when they pass a budget, if they find that they need money coming back to balance their budget, they take money that's been promised to us districts and bring it back to them. So I just want the public to know that this is an item that we on the various districts have to deal with, and when we're dealing with our budget. It's called the gap elimination adjustment. It affects us just like unfunded mandates do. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Rob, the state's very good about doing that because they do that to small businesses and all the other businesses with the unemployment insurance. If they're short, they come back and say, by the way, we didn't get enough money, send us another check. So the school district's not the only one in that boat. Businesses are in the same boat.
I am not saying that we are the only
Yeah.
one on board, but I would, until I came onto the school board, I was unaware of this fiscal playing around that they do.
The power of the guy up above you. Not that one either.
Doreen, did you have your hand up?
So at the August 13 Town Board meeting, the board discussed changes to the noise ordinance, and prompted by the Wegmans Emeritus Assisted Living site on the corner of Boardman and Spackenkill Roads, where some neighbors were disturbed in early Saturday morning hours. And it was good that you did that and you're looking into it, but the very next day at 6:30 in the morning, in violation of the existing noise ordinance, they were doing work. And I could hear it on Colburn Drive, and I wasn't exactly sure it was them. And then I verified it with somebody else, and I know the supervisor was contacted. So, here you are, you're trying to make changes to make things better, and yet people are not even complying with the existing law. So I was wondering whatever happened with that. Were they fined or?
No, they weren't fined. We notified them that the start time should be 7, per our noise ordinance. And I received an email back from the person in charge over there saying they had basically a staff review from all their workforce, and they reviewed the start time with the crew, and assured us that they hope they had settled that issue, but they wouldn't be starting before 7.
Okay, and I hope they also, because one night it was like 9:30 they were working, and, the heavy equipment, under unlawful noises, says heavy equipment isn't supposed to be run after 8 p.m. on weekdays. So, and again, if there isn't enforcement and consequences, you can write all the laws you want, but people need to be held accountable. Then the only other thing about traffic studies, I see they're doing a traffic study on Boardman Road. It's near the Poughkeepsie Day School, but they're doing it now when school is out. So all the buses from Lord and cars coming and going from Poughkeepsie Day School won't be counted in that traffic study. So, or traffic count, I'm sorry.
Do
traffic
they have
count.
the lines across the street?
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they do. So again, how accurate is that if you're doing it during the summertime when a lot of your traffic is not there, so.
It's as accurate as they want it to be.
Yeah, right, right.
Is that NICEDOT who's doing that? Is DOT?
I don't know who's
Yeah,
doing
it
it.
doesn't say.
we're
No,
not doing
I know the town doesn't do it, but I'm just saying, because then the town, sometimes will reference, traffic studies, traffic counts, and say, oh, well, the traffic on, because I know that was an issue one time on Spackenkill Road, saying, oh, the traffic count hasn't changed in X number of
Yeah,
years,
that's good.
but sounds to me like a rather strange time to be doing a traffic
Yeah,
count.
it would be nice to think it might be the state taking a look at that issue.
Well, actually, it's a lot of other, because there's one near, is it Van Duzer? Van Duzen? Whichever.
quite a
There's
few of them
one down
around.
by there. And then there's, I've seen them in several other places, so I don't think it's specific to that
Okay.
project. But again, considering that's near Spackenkill High School, that's another time where you
Yeah.
wonder how accurate it is. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. John Zenz, 3 Bayberry Lane in Poughkeepsie. This is the fourth time I've been here to discuss this issue. I'll try to be very brief. I do enjoy coming here and seeing you good people, and the meetings are very interesting, seriously, but I would like to kind of move ahead with this before I get even older. The issue is the drainage issue for houses on Bayberry Lane. in Poughkeepsie. Basically, that entire street, all the water goes into one area, one pipe that runs behind the houses on the north side of Bayberry Lane. Goes underneath Laughlin, comes out on McCann Golf Course to a pond. There's an additional pipe that feeds that pond from the golf course. Those two pipes, in the interest, they're actually oval shaped, but in the interest of simplification, they're 35-inch diameter pipes. They're very large. They get the job done if they are clear. There is no grade. I won't go through all the details, but I've been through the pipe. There is no grade. There was a low layer of 3 or 4 inches of water the entire length that wasn't moving. Then when it goes under Laughlin, it goes away. In other words, it actually goes up. I'm sorry. At that point, the pipe goes down, but it had a lip so that the water had stayed, level, the same height, obviously, the whole length of Bayberry Lane. Then it actually goes up because then there's about 8 inches of water in the next section of pipe, and then it goes out to the pond. So you have 2 35-inch diameter pipes feeding the pond. You have 1 30-inch diameter pipe coming off the pond. So that's a critical point. So I'll address that briefly first. We've talked about it before. The last time I was here, I was told, well, there's an algae problem that blocks that pipe. That always confused me how algae could block a pipe, but I kind of get it now. I finally, after 20 years of living there, went back. I had a reason to be on the golf course anyway. I went back there and I looked at it, and yes, there's algae blocking it, but the algae was covering rocks. The rocks that are put around that pipe over time had, fallen down. They're there. The softball, tennis ball sized rocks that are put there to stop erosion had fallen down and were not visible, but they were blocking the pipe and now had gotten covered with algae. The level of that pond rises and falls tremendously. And so the pipe, now this is last fall. I can't remember the last time I was here. I'll say it's last spring, meaning 14 or so months ago. And it was about, I would call it 40% blocked. You may say 50%. I'll pass this around.
This is just this spring when you looked at it?
That picture is last fall.
Okay.
I went back a couple of weeks later and cleaned it out. When it's not flooded, it's very easy. I got in there and I cleaned it out. No big deal. But what I'm saying is what may not be obvious from that picture is it looks like it's blocked with algae. The algae is covering rocks that had gone down there. My point being that in spite of all the times I've come here, clearly no one addressed this for a long time, or at least some amount of time.
Yeah, I would say that, that isn't true. I know the rocks that are alongside this pipe, the highway department put there some years back, and I know the lake is the McCann Lake, as you know. And as I don't know what they call the people that take care of the course, but as their superintendents come and go, we've had assurances in the past that they were going to, actually, I think, try to treat this lake, treat the algae, and they have. But, as time goes on, we've got to recontact them, remind them of the issue. So I know it's a problem. I wouldn't say nothing's been done. Like I said, the highway department has put stone in there around the pipe to try to keep that in place, and I'll talk to Mark and, the highway superintendent and see if he can make contact with someone over there and, potentially do some work on this again.
I appreciate the fact that you have looked into this in the past. I guess my point is... I just remember from the... I guess my point is whatever's being done isn't quite getting the job done. I don't mind going back there 2 or 3 times a year. I went back in the spring during a flooding situation where the level was above the top of that pipe that you see. It's very hard to clean it out under those circumstances because of the rush of the water. It's very difficult, but it was partially plugged. I got it unplugged enough.
So what was it plugged in with stone? Sticks?
No, enough sticks covered by the algae that it was, you see the screen on the pipe, the screen has, the holes are this big, but they do get partially plugged. And again, you've got 2 35-inch diameter pipes, so a partial plug is a big plug.
Yeah.
There was also I guess you call it a snowboard thing. It wasn't blocking it, but if it had situated itself slightly differently, this was a solid, it's like a surfboard. You know what I mean? Okay, it wasn't blocking it, but it was close. I pulled it out. It's now sitting next to it. So I don't mind going back there, but I do feel a little funny. I'm not a member of the golf course, and I do treat it kind of as private property. I mean, it sort of is. I don't know, but I don't like walking back there 3-4 times a year. I will do it, but geez.
You know what we'll do, and Jim, if you can remind me, and maybe we can work on typing up a letter to the Board of Trustees at McCann.
Yes. See if we can make him a member too, for crying out loud. That's the least we can do
But
for him.
we kind of need some sort of schedule from somebody that's going to go back there and clean it, and then
Yeah.
verification that they do.
Maybe the golf pro.
Whether it's McCann doing it, or our highway department, or the sewer department, whoever it is.
I mean, technically,
We just need,
McCann's
I think it's
right, we just need to know that somebody gets it in their queue and goes out and cleans out, because he shouldn't have to. It's nice of you, but
It's easy to do in a non-flooding situation, but when it's very difficult.
I understand what you're saying.
Something back from, if McCann's going to do it, we need something back from them.
Like I said, I know that their superintendent was named, I think it was Paul Buccellato, who years ago was the mayor in the city. He was there for a number of years. I think he's who we dealt with, and he left. So I don't know if somehow the ball was dropped there, but I think the best way, we have representation on that Board of Trustees to make sure our representatives know that this lake is a problem and to address.
Can we have, like, maybe Sean in engineering, or somebody on the town side that's responsible, that either every 6 months or 4 months or annual check and see that was done? Just so that, because otherwise, if we hand it back over to them and it doesn't happen, then he's got to come back and tell us.
We can.
Someone on town staff that takes on that, puts in their tickler file, and every 6 months calls up the golf course and say, have you done
Have you
it?
checked that, yeah.
Because this will, and again, it's nice, I think, when you said you crawled through that pipe, kind of scares me the thought of crawling through that thing, but.
It's
Well,
big.
it wouldn't fit, you and I.
Right. But it really is not your job, and that somewhere in this process, we got to figure out whose job it is so that water flows. Because it seems pretty straightforward thing, it's just a matter of someone actually going out there and doing it, and the golf course is best equipped to do it.
It seems to me it is somewhat to their benefit, because when that pond floods, it takes part of the course with it.
Yeah.
Okay, now the other end. In the disaster for everybody on my street of 2011 of the flooding, I brought up again, because my previous letters from years earlier had gone unanswered to you, and letters to you and to the Spackenkill School Board went unanswered. The other problem is at the other end of that same pipe. Once you get down by the tennis courts, the grade it's steep grade, no issue, but it's the same grade along, you know what I'm talking about, by the football field and the track before you hit the walkway. And you guys came in, you dug it out, you got unbelievable number of garbage, dump trucks full of various things. It was beautiful. It's been 3 years. And if you drive by there now, the reeds are getting bad. I give it maybe another year or two. I've been in there a couple times, pulled some things out. Somebody has to take care of that. Either a massive work every 5 years or a little bit every year. That is, it's a year or two away. I can tell you from experience, it's a year or two away from that being the bigger problem than the other end. It's normally not a big problem. It's just not as big a problem as the pinch point on the other end.
Yeah, I remember doing that, yeah.
But if I have to, and I've done it, and I will go in there again with a pitchfork or pickaxe and do it again and get rid of those reeds and let them flow downstream and whatever, and then walk down and do whatever I got to do. And there's going to be a whole bunch of junk out down by the tennis courts. But somebody has to do that. And I've asked you, and you've said that you were going to talk to Spackenkill, and I've gone to Spackenkill, and they said they were going to talk to you, and it goes on.
I think it's Spackenkill property. We did it one time with their permission, but we can't just go on Spackenkill grounds. And the other problem for the town is when we start maintaining all this property that's not ours.
I totally understand and I agree, but when I go to Spackenkill, they say, well, they're trying to work things out with you.
It's a stream that's on their property. I don't understand how they could say that and anybody would say, okay. I mean, it's
I
not
don't know
our
what to tell you.
property.
I talked to the people there, and they said that they were trying to set up meetings with you guys, and that was last fall, and then I went again in the spring, and they said, well, we're trying to set up
Probably
meetings
won't
with you
let us
guys.
do the work again, most likely.
They won't or want us to.
Oh, I'm sure they do. They haven't set up any meetings, they haven't called as far as I know, but I'm sure that's their intent, is to see if we'll go in and do the work again for them. But we will. We'll contact them and see what we can do. I mean, at the end of the day, we contact them. My suspicion is it won't go anywhere, so the town
Well,
board will have
I think one of the things
our
with that,
people
though,
in to
is
do the work.
one of the things with that though is if Spackengill cleared it out and let it float downstream, it just floats downstream and clogs up the neighborhood over there because the people on
Hagen,
the
pasture
have problems too when it clogs up. So it's sort of, I think when the highway department went in and cleared it out, it solved Spackengill's problem, solved your problem, and it solved the town's problem downstream. And that's the thing. It's sort of it's a little bit everybody's at this point, because if you solve it one place, you jam up the water the next stop down. Then you solve it there, it jams up a little bit further. So
That
if
goes
we,
back to why you have a floodplain, for that reason. And what he's saying, it goes down, but if everybody took care of their property,
Yeah,
it's
that's
not,
the
it's not the
problem.
town's job to start, because when it started McCann, that's basically a retention pond. It's a pond, but it's a retention pond.
Yeah.
You go to Galleria, they have 6 retention ponds. They have to maintain those ponds. By the laws today, they have to maintain them so many years. Back when that was probably built, the laws didn't exist, but it's their property. They maintain theirs, Spackenkill maintain them. This poor guy wouldn't be out there climbing through, holes for the same reason, but everybody has to maintain them because it's the same thing. If you maintain yourself, I have one down off of Vassar Road, Nahum, same thing. Everything's collapsed inside of it, and it was affected by a piece of property 4 blocks away. Same thing, the developer there got screwed up, he got sued by the DEC. He put pipes in, now the pipes aren't being maintained 10 years later, and the residents that live 7 blocks away are being affected by the same thing he says. I think it's up to the school.
well, most of this problem is running through people's yards and backyards and stuff like that. And that's the school is one pressure point. But if the school cleared it out and let it float downstream, then it would clog up all of Pasture Lane and everyone's backyards. So it kind of, I do think the town sort of has a vested interest in solving it upstream if we can, because otherwise it's just going to be Pasture Lane's a mess.
Well, the problem is if you solve too much of it upstream, you're gonna give them all that water.
Yeah, no. Well, that's the other side. The
Not going all the way down. If all of a
backyard
sudden you
erosion.
open that up,
Yeah.
it's gonna go there.
It backs up in you've got a storm drain in your backyard, so what happens, the water backs up and comes out, actually fills the pipe and comes out
But
the
Jay's
storm
right,
drain.
Pasture Lane when it goes last through. They lose in parts of the backyard and trees fall.
I
in.
think McCann's gonna be I'm confident that's gonna be fairly easy. We'll make contact with them and the school district and if worst comes to worst, I think last time we had to actually get permission, waivers from the school district to go on the property to do the work, but I think we'll start that road again.
And my final comment, I'll just repeat, is right now, I can tell you that Spackenkill is under the impression it's not their problem. I'm just telling you, from what they've told me, they're not interested in it, whether they should or not, I'm just telling you what they're telling me, that they don't think they need to do anything about that. And if it goes on much longer.
But who's that? I not the call. Is it
Well,
like
I
the
went to,
president, the
I went to the
principal?
school board and I said, could you please send me a letter so I can go back to you and say, this is what Spackenkill says. I
You didn't
never
get
got a
that
letter.
back.
So the
A
school
week
board
later, the
said-
school board.
Gotcha.
A week later, I got a call from the grounds guy, the head of maintenance. And he brought me in with one of the vice principals and we talked about it and they said, hey, we're getting in touch with the town board and we've got a meeting we're trying to set up with Ann Shershin next month and we'll be in touch with you. And I waited 6 months and I got nothing. So I went back and they said, please be patient, Mr. Zenz, we're working on it. Well, it's been close to a year now. And so I'm just telling you what they told me, and I'll go back to the school board and jump up and down again and ask for something.
And have you heard from them at all?
No, I haven't heard. Who on the school board?
The school board. I went to the entire school board. When I
Okay,
went back, I
'cause,
met with
I helped get some of those people elected, so yeah.
Well, so
I'll give them some calls and we're going to get meetings set up.
They
Yeah.
didn't feel it was necessary to respond to me. Their response, which was okay, I guess, was to send their head of maintenance to talk to me, which is fine. And we talked about it, but, okay, I've said enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Zenz. Mr. Armstrong?
Who owns Spring Road?
The county.
County.
Did we ever trade that off or not? Is the county still on it?
I think it's still the county.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the progress with that road? When are they gonna do that? They put telephone poles in, it looks like they're not gonna take that whole hill out that's there. And
There's
straighten
been-
it out altogether, which probably is a
I
good
think
idea
the
anyway.
plan is to straighten it out. I think the holdup was with this state DOT, not much of a surprise. There were some snags with, their maps and their plans, and, anytime you deal with multiple
Am I
level.
assuming that we also paid some money for some studies to be done on that road? From our funds, or am I mistaken?
No, I think it's,
I thought, that was like
I might,
I think it's our road, Todd.
No, since
Because
this
some of that-
started.
some of that funding,
I might have misspoken. My recollection is.
I think it's ours.
It's
a town road.
Marchicelli, yeah.
It's for Spring Road.
Yeah, Marchicelli, yeah.
we were gonna swap it a few times for another county road, but we never did.
Yeah.
I don't think.
But it's all
Maybe ours.
grants and that type of funding, and that's one of the
Well, I expected it to be
benefits, but
started
it's
by
also
now
one of
from
the
what they
problems.
said.
And they told us originally we're gonna start,
All I see is telephone poles being sticking
Yeah,
in, and
it's-
No, they had
so
some
it looks
easement
like
hold
they're
up after
doing a lot with
another.
that either, but
There's some easement issues too.
Talked about it a long time ago.
It's this grant and these,
in other words, we don't really know when.
not at this point, we don't know
Not
when.
kidding, Joe.
Still working towards it, but no, we don't. Anybody else? Do you know want to make a motion to resume the rules? All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved, the town board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby adjourned to executive session to consider the following matters to wit. One, confidential communications between the attorney and his client, the town board, based on attorney-client privilege. Be it further resolved, there'll be no action appropriating money, so moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Town board adjourned to executive session at 9:05.
Bill.